Feeling like a fraud is a very common feeling. What is called imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon makes us feel like we haven't really earned our accomplishments, and we attribute our accomplishments to luck rather than to ability. We feel that our ideas are not worthy of other people's attention. We feel like we don't belong. Ultimately, we fear that others will eventually unmask us as a fraud. As a matter of fact, imposter syndrome can apply to anyone who isn't able to internalize and own their successes. According to the International Journal of Behavioral Science, about 70% of people experience imposter syndrome. People who have experienced impostorism include Maya Angelou, Michelle Obama, Neil Gaiman, and many others. Maya Angelou said, "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out." The syndrome was first identified by psychologists Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes. Although in their first paper they identified women as the only ones affected by the imposter syndrome, research later on found that imposter syndrome is not limited to women. Clance also created the imposter test, which determines whether you have imposter phenomenon characteristics. I will put the link to the test in the description below if you want to do it just for funsies. My test result, which I did a few days ago, put me in the moderate imposter phenomenon experiences category, and that is in fact an improvement compared to where I was a few years back. Even though some people are more prone to imposter feelings than others, these feelings can be experienced by people across all ages, genders, races, and occupations. Where do these feelings come from, though? Highly skilled individuals tend to think that others are just as skilled as them, which makes them believe that they do not deserve opportunities over other people. But every single one of us, we all doubt ourselves privately, and we believe that we are alone in feeling that way. This syndrome is found at the individual level, but outside of the individual level, something that can create imposter feelings is also external factors, mainly the surrounding environments and social interactions. These are a crucial element in determining how individuals feel about themselves. The environment includes society as a whole, interpersonal relationships, and organizations. For instance, many people who feel like an imposter have grown up in families that have placed a lot of emphasis on achievement. Why is it important to tackle imposter syndrome? Because research has shown that imposter syndrome is detrimental to individuals' well-being and career advancement. Feeling like an imposter stops us from sharing our ideas with others, even though they might be good, but we fear that they are not good enough. We might miss on so many opportunities because we don't feel like we deserve them, so we don't go for them. The worst part of this is that sometimes there is no limit in accomplishments that will make this feeling go away. So what can we do to get rid of these imposter thoughts, or at least to relieve them just a little? The most important thing that I have changed between feeling like an imposter most of the time to now when I feel like an imposter only sometimes, it is something that I have heard also from other people, is in those moments when I have felt like an imposter the most, in those situations that have triggered this feeling, I have shifted my mind to thinking different thoughts. Like a lot of other feelings that we might feel during one day, feeling like an imposter is a result of our thoughts, thinking like an imposter. So the number one thing that will change or subside the feeling is thinking different thoughts, thinking like a non-imposter. Here are 6 ways that we can do that. The first thing is to talk about it. The number one problem that people with imposter feelings have is we suffer in silence. Feeling like a fraud and like others will very soon be able to see us for who we really are prevents us from wanting to talk about it. It's generally difficult for the person who, for example, just joined the company to start talking openly about how they feel like a fraud. Who it is easier for is people who have already been working with the company for a while, especially for people in leading positions. Now, of course, for example, a mentor will know what the student is going through so that they can just come out and talk about imposter syndrome. But for, say, a manager who is entirely focused on performance, they might not give too much thought to issues like imposter syndrome. What they could do easily is, when during conversations imposter feelings, even just remote, come up, they should just talk about how many people have the same feelings at one point in time. Maybe they have had the same feelings when they started out, or maybe they still feel like an imposter every now and then, and it is so very important for people who have achieved something to normalize imposter feelings. This will allow the new employee to feel like they are not alone, so that they can talk about it, and also to learn quickly that they can speak their mind and take action while allowing those feelings to still be there. 2. Focus on facts, not feelings. Let's say you have been working for a few months on a scientific article to submit to a conference of the highest rank. And all the while you felt like you're aiming too high. When the time comes, the article is accepted, maybe with a condition that a few things be modified. The default feeling is that of an imposter, but it is mainly because you've been feeling like that for an extended period of time. Instead of giving too much importance to what you are feeling at that moment, think of the facts. Your article was accepted to the conference because you worked a lot on it. These are the facts. Anytime that your thoughts go to feeling like an imposter, remind yourself of the facts. Learn to be okay with failure. Perfectionists especially have a hard time knowing when to finish working on something because they think that they can do better always. So they don't tolerate mistakes. Learn to allow yourself to make mistakes along the way. And if you completely fail at something, if you mess up, if you make mistake after mistake, or you can even ruin something entirely, tell yourself that you can always start anew. Take some time to recognize the mistakes that you made and learn from them, and then just let go and try again tomorrow. Find a role model or an anti-model. A long time ago, before I started teaching, I was a nervous mess. I was very timid when it came to speaking up. I would try to avoid speaking up at any cost, and when I had to, I would just blush and my voice could hardly be heard. Something that happened to overcome my fear of public speaking is being able to look at people that I admired because they were able to speak their mind and to share their thoughts with others. One particular scenario that scared me was when, not if, but when my students would ask me a question that I didn't know the answer to. What the heck was I going to do then? What I did was go back in my memories of my time at university, or even earlier, and think about the professors that I admired. What did they do in difficult situations? For this particular situation, I actually remembered my anti-model, the professor who, upon being asked such a question, would respond with nonsense talk, saying one thing after another, none of which gave a response to the question asked, instead of just coming out and saying, you know what? I don't know the answer to this one. I hated that. I would cringe whenever a professor would just pull this. So when the time came for me to be in the same situation, I knew what I didn't want to do. In both contexts, trying to do the same thing that our role model does, or the opposite of what our anti-model does, reduces some of the imposter thoughts that we might have, because we have seen our role model being an imposter, and we have seen our anti-model being an imposter. Make peace with the fact that you might never get rid of imposter feelings. One of the things I have realized, experience after experience, is that the fact that at one point in time I feel like less of an imposter does not mean at all that I will never feel like an imposter again. That is true because I have always experienced imposter syndrome, even though to various degrees in different times, but it might not be true for those individuals who have never been affected by these feelings. I believe that what happens is, with every new experience or with every new situation that we find ourselves in, we find ourselves not prepared, at least not fully, and so we have no frame of reference for this new experience or this new situation, and as a result, we feel like we don't deserve to be there. Having this perspective can not only help us in relieving our imposter feelings, but also to push us to never shy away from a new challenge. And finally, tell yourself a new story. when you find yourself in the same room with people who you believe deserve to be there because of the amazing things that they have achieved, don't tell yourself that you don't deserve to be there with these people. Instead of that same old story, start telling yourself a new one by focusing on learning. So instead of telling yourself, oh my God, these people are amazing and I'm not even close, why am I even here? Try saying something like, oh my God, surrounded by these many amazing people, I will learn so much. I am a strong believer in that the way we get rid of one thing or we improve on another thing is by thinking and talking about it. Firstly, by talking about things with one another, we gain new perspectives, new ways to approach the issue at hand. And secondly, by thinking about it, which is followed obviously by intentional action, we make sure that we understand the issue and we come up with a solution. It's the same thing that I try to do with the different topics that I talk about in my videos, and it's the same methodology that I use in every part of my life too. Having said that, let me know what your thoughts are. Have you ever experienced imposter feelings? What have you done to deal with them? Leave me a comment below. Let's normalize this. I will see you there. And for those of you who watch my videos and find them interesting, thank you for that, but have forgotten to subscribe to my channel, you can do so now. Click on the subscribe button and the bell next to it to be notified for every new video that I release. And I will see you in the next one.